like to do. I like to try to call these powerful, arrogant, powerful people to account, hold them to account. And she did it every day. She never stopped until finally people started listening. This Ron Kim, this assemblyman, helped. He pointed out that Cuomo threatened him. And then yesterday, man, the House of Cards came tumbling down on Andrew Cuomo, and his former aide wrote a piece, which is kind of amazing. Her name is Lindsay Boylan, and it's totally devastating. It is devastating. If you're a liberal and you've been standing by Cuomo for 10 months, it's over. It is over. He's done. We were talking about before we started recording, what happens now? I think he resigns in disgrace. I don't really see a choice because Democrats have turned on him. And let's be honest, Turtle Boy, if you're a Democrat, if you're a Cuomo and Democrats turn on you, the media, not so much. The media, I mean, they will be licking his toes until the final moment. He goes away in an orange jumpsuit to prison. They'll be cheering and they'll be sending him, cards. They'll be sending him good get well cards or good luck. I mean, they will visit him. They love him for some reason. But the Democrats in the Assembly in New York, and by the way, in the House and the Senate, everybody's turning on him since this woman, Lindsay Boylan, wrote a piece. And again, I don't know why the Post didn't cover it, or even the Daily News, or whatever. I mean, obviously the New York Times is not going to cover it. They're not a newspaper, but here's the lead. Let's play strip poker. That's the lead to her piece on Andrew Cuomo, his former aide. She says, I should have been shocked by the governor's crude comment, but I wasn't. And it's a devastating takedown of this was a person, a trusted assistant, aide to the governor. And she talked about him forcing himself on her, forcing her to kiss him, trying to get her to play strip poker on an airplane. Just devastating. Much, much, much worse than anything. What's her face? Blasey Ford said about Kavanaugh. Much worse than anyone ever said about, you name it, about Trump, for Christ's sake.
So why is she coming out now? That's my question.
I guess I'll tell you why. She's giving it all. She's obviously losing, all her friends, all the people that are going to surround Cuomo. They're going to attack her and call her a liar and everything. I think she feels she has to because she sees that all the evidence is piled up. She knows everybody is telling their stories, and he's done. And maybe she should have come out earlier. It's a good point. Why don't you do this when it first happens? But
or during did she miss the Me Too thing? Was this after Me Too? This happened?
No. Me Too. Good question. Me Too. Andrew Cuomo was leading the effort.
Right, but when did these incidents allegedly happen?
2017 in October.
So why, if that happened in 2017, that was right before Me Too got big. Why didn't she in 2018 say, well, here's is she a Cuomo guy? Is that the thing?
Yeah, she just worked for him. She was his aide. She was his...
right, but is she was she a radical? I don't know her politics. Is she a radical leftist? Because some of these liberals don't like Cuomo.
She worked for him.
Doesn't mean you like him on it. Doesn't mean you...
She had a job.
Right.
She was I'll get her title. She was chief of staff at the State Economic Development Agency, had an office. She took the job under one condition, that she didn't want to take the office they offered her next to his. She insisted on being on a different floor because she knew he'd come walking in without his pants on one day, and she didn't want to deal with that. She wanted to, advance her career, but are you going to really blame her for not coming out sooner?
No, I'm not blaming her. I'm just wondering, because here's the thing, Gerry. First of all, you must be very happy now because you've been talking about Killer Cuomo for 10 months now, and it's finally coming to fruition. But just know that it has nothing to do with you or Janice Dean. It has to do with liberals. The only reason this is coming out is because liberals are talking about it. Nobody cares if conservatives like you complain about Andrew Cuomo because they don't take you seriously. But when any liberal will do really, actually speaks out against this, they finally do something.
It's a good point because you know what Janice Dean had? She had the order from March 25th where he sent coronavirus positive patients into the nursing homes. She literally has the evidence, black and white. she has it in her hand, and she's been waving it around and screaming about it for 10 months. It's a great point, because this guy, Ron Kibb's a liberal, and he comes out and says that Cuomo called him and threatened him and said, I will ruin you if you don't participate in my cover-up.
And it's believable when you see the way he interacts with the media. It's like the way he yells at them. Like he's like always this like macho, oh, bro, I'm half Sicilian, bro. You don't want to mess with the Cuomos. Don't make me get Chris. He's at the gym with Cohen. They're pumping some iron down there. That's my enforcer.
Right. It was funny because the new Saturday Night Live, and I know you didn't watch it, but they did a Cuomo joke. They did two jokes that were controversial. 𝗏𝗂𝗃 did them both. One was the Jewish joke, which was clearly anti-Semitic, but again, 𝗟's a liberal and he can do what he wants.
Jerry, you're like Trump. You guys have this obsession with this show.
And then he made a Cuomo joke about Italians and said he's a composite of every Goodfellas character. They said Cuomo is a composite of every Goodfellas character, and he is, but it's obviously an Italian, whatever, slur, stereotype, and so there were, they called some Italian organization, and they said that they were offended by it, and didn't go anywhere, because again, he's a liberal, he could do that. They actually did a skit, and I won't, bore you with this, where they had Ted Cruz and Cuomo together on a talk show, hosted by Britney Spears. It was kind of stupid. But the whole point of the skit was that Cuomo says to Cruz, don't lump me in with you, I'm not as bad as you. So they literally did a skit to make the point that Cuomo, who killed 15,000 at least New York senior citizens, is not as bad as Ted Cruz, who went to Cancun for 12 hours. That's how twisted and insane these people are. But again, I won't bore you with this. I know you don't care about it.
No, I do. I listened to the show Monday, and I'm like, I knew you were going to talk about 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗲. I mean, like, I bet she talks about 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗲. That guy's in your head, Jerry.
I admit I hate watch it. I tape it and I watch it and I skip through it, and I see things like this, and I don't care what people say. I feel like if 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗲, by the way, if you don't know, the reason I started hating the guy was he lied about Boston. He lied about Red Sox fans, which doesn't bother the Red Sox owners. They lie about their own fans. They disparage their own fans regularly. They think their fans are racist. I don't. I will defend the Red Sox fans. But this liar said that 34 people stood up and yelled out the N-word at a game, and nobody said a word. Nobody complained. 34 people. That's what he said.
Seems
totally
unlikely.
Made it up. And I don't even know why it's funny, but that to me is over the line. You got to defend your people. Boston fans, Red Sox fans did not do that. He makes this totally ugly, disgusting accusation, and nobody calls him on it. I mean, obviously, again, the Red Sox owners don't think much of their fans. They back them up. Red Sox executives don't think anything. They think all their fans are racist. I don't. I'm sorry, my old partner, he didn't. We got in trouble for defending Red Sox fans. The Boston Globe, again, they think Red Sox fans are scum. They think they're all racist. They think people stood up at games and chanted the N-word and nobody cared. I disagree. I know you disagree too. It's common sense.
They don't actually think that, though. They're just like, what can I do to make this go away? That is their entire thing. Like, how can I get, it's like as a white person, like, oh, they like it when you say stuff like this. When you just say that you're racist, they leave you alone. So just say that you're racist. That's all it is.
It's a good point. Well, they don't want it to go away. They want everyone to see how enlightened and supportive they are of black people or liberal people who lie about.
Well, even look at when we had 𝗪𝗪𝗃𝗲 on, right? Yeah, we had 𝗪𝗪𝗃𝗲 on about Curt Schilling. He used the Adam Jones thing as a reason as to why he didn't like Curt Schilling. Like they don't want it to disappear. They want to keep hammering that bad boy home.
It's the most twisted logic. So if you defend Red Sox fans and say, in this day and age, that couldn't happen. 34 people couldn't stand up and yell the N-word. Or a case of Torrey Hunter, he said a group of kids chanted the N-word and a group of adults cheered them on. Obviously made up out of thin air. And if you say, I don't believe that, in global logic or in John Henry logic, that's racist. To say that I don't believe Red Sox fans are racist, you're racist. So it's insane, it's stupid, it's ignorant, and I mean, I'm not gonna change. I'm not gonna say, gee, that's awful what they did. 34 people stood up and yelled the N-word. I remember calling 𝗦𝗂𝗃 out on that, and people saying, why can't you just believe him? Well, I can't believe him for two reasons. He's making it up, and he's accusing Boston fans of the most ugly thing you can do. Is a racist, an outward racist, yelling the N-word. It didn't happen.
But it's not even original. Like, everybody does that.
Right.
You think 𝗦𝗂𝗃 the only guy that like calls Boston racist? That's fashionable. It's like common knowledge amongst the Deadspinners of the world.
Well, we've gone over it plenty of times, and we don't have to do it again. We'll get to people, good liberals making stuff up. We'll get to Barack Obama and Bruce Springsteen's podcast.
Did you ever think, Gerry, that they were apologizing because they wanted to be less white? Maybe they took the Coca-Cola diversity challenge.
That's a good point. I wonder how the people at Coke are doing it. Are they showing up with playing different music? Are they a different lingo? How are they showing up to try and seem less white?
A lot of 𝗟𝗵𝘃𝗀𝗆 on the speakers.
Wow.
No more Chesney. No more Eric Church or Kim McGraw.
A lot of brunch. A whole lot of brunch.
Which, if it were in
White
Atlanta,
people love brunch.
I'm guessing the white guys probably played a little, Chesney or Eric Church. That's out. You got to, dress differently and act differently and talk differently. But hey, whatever it takes. I'm sure they have some good jobs there at Coke. They don't want to blow them, want to lose them. So you got to stick, kind of follow directive and be less white. We did that Monday. Who was on with me? We were trying to be.
You was on, yeah.
You and Dave and I were all trying to be less white. How do you think we did?
It didn't really work. You guys were really white, really white.
The only one whiter than me is Callahan, and I don't know.
𝗪𝗃's pretty white.
Cully's pretty white. Although
I'm doing my best, guys. I'm trying over here.
I'm the diversity hire here, if anything.
Yeah, right. Well, no, we like I always say, we have a quota, or should I say, an affirmative action program. Or at least in my world, I only hire the mentally ill. And
oh, there you go. Too soon. Too soon.
Oh no, never too soon. It's we like to get it out in the open. You like to get
Yeah, I
it
don't
out.
care.
Are you doing okay?
Oh yeah, I'm like, once you get consumed in work and block the right people and just don't let it, it's much better. Like my stress now is back to work stress. Like I got all these freaking stories I want to write and I don't have enough time. That's my new stress. So that's a good thing.
No, it seems healthy. Keep writing blogs about people who actually could show up and kill you. It seems like a healthy.
Who's gonna kill me? I'm not writing about people gonna kill me. You think that woman, the guy that Rosie Rand Paul, she's gonna show up at my house?
I think a lot of people want to show up at your house.
It's a good question. I've known people who've had issues as well, and there's always other people, individuals who trigger them, whether it's someone you work with or someone that you've covered, or just someone in your world that triggers you, that gets under your skin is kind of a trivial, trite way to put it. But someone who hits a nerve, and I know you have those people, and I understand why, because you got bigger balls than anybody in the business, and you don't hesitate to go after people, and they sometimes threaten to go after you. And but you look much better. You look much better than Tiger did Sunday with Jim Nance when he did that interview and looked. As OJ said, looked like he was on something. But so you're not worried about anybody like blowing your house up?
No, it's all just talk, Gerry. These words on a computer screen. Right. Plus, the good part about living in Central Mass is they can't afford the gas money. The people who hate me, it's not worth it. They're like, I'm willing to invest 15 minutes into terrorizing this guy. 2 hours, that's a bit much.
What? Say that again?
I said that maybe they're willing to invest, 15 minutes into terrorizing me, but 2 hours is a stretch.
I always say Twitter threats, they're not real threats. The world is different. 20 years ago, you used to get a letter that said, I know where you live, where you work, where you park, I'm going to kill you. That used to get your attention. Now, when you get a tweet that says that, you go, whatever, it's a tweet.
Block. It's the same people on Twitter, Gerry. I swear, this one guy makes like 50 accounts. I don't know how Twitter keeps letting him do it. And I just block him every time. And I go to see who he follows. It's just me. There's a guy that just makes accounts for me.
Right. I got a couple of those guys too. In fact, there's one guy that does it to you and me. his Twitter bio says, I hate Turtleboy and Callahan.
Oh, that's
And then
nice.
All he does is threaten you, and then we block him. He comes back and does it, because his whole life is just,
That sounds like your relationship with Saturday Night Live. Their relationship with us is your relationship with 𝗦𝗂𝗃𝗄.
well, I like this. I like what Turtleboy does. This the last time I said something Pete Davidson said on a Monday. We talked about, nobody cares. The next week, all anyone talked about on any talk show was what Pete Davidson did. I know you don't watch.
You love that guy.
But sometimes it's like, I'll never let Turtleboy forget this either. I think it was sometime around, September, October, and I mentioned Dr. Fauci, and Turtleboy said, "Who's that?"
No, that was in March. In March, you mentioned him, right when coronavirus. I'm like, who the hell's Dr. Fauci?
Uh,
And that was back when you were a fan. You were like, oh, he's a great doctor. Everyone should listen to him, knows what he's doing, world renowned, not
So
political.
what's worse, being a fan? Well, everyone was for a couple of weeks because we thought he knew what he was doing and we thought he was on the level. Now he's a total quack and a total egomaniac that nobody respects, except for MSNBC and CNN, where he's a full-time contributor. I mean, nobody who's paying attention has any respect for flip-flop Fauci. The highest paid, we didn't know it back then, he was the highest paid person in the federal government. I guess his full-time job is going on CNN with Dana Bash and, John Berman and these morning people. And he makes $417,000. And he just won an award from Israel or somewhere. And he got $1 million cash as a prize for being such a tireless public servant.
Like 𝗕𝗫_Kelly says, Jerry,
he gets to distribute, right? He gets to choose the charities that the.
Oh, I thought he got to keep it.
No. Now, I do wonder if he gets that as like a tax write-off in some capacity. If it's like his name making these donations, I don't know, but.
I don't know. I mean, he's 80 years old. What the hell's he got to do? I mean, why is he so worried about losing power? These people are insane. He's 80, been in the federal government for 50 years, and he obviously is hanging on to power with both hands, and he's worried about losing his control over our lives. I feel like saying, don't you have a beach house? You're fabulously wealthy. Don't you have grandkids or great-grandkids to go spend time with? Can you just take the little mic off and go back to work maybe? All he does is sit there and talk. And by the way, on Monday he says one thing, Tuesday something totally different, Wednesday back to what he said, Monday, Thursday. I mean, just flip-flop, and nobody seems to call him out except for, Tucker or Laura. He spends all his time on MSNBC and CNN now. But
anyway, like our friend 𝗕𝗫_Kelly says, like Fauci, the last thing in the world he wants to end is coronavirus. Coronavirus is the best thing that ever happened to him. I didn't know who he was before this. You did, but a lot of people didn't. And now we do. The steak dinners end. The Dana Bash friendship ends. Like this all ends the second a viral disease goes away.
Right. Well, did you see I don't want to spend a lot of time on him, but there's a video which is amazing. When there was Ebola, there's two videos. We had Ebola. When was Ebola? Like 15 years ago or something? Ebola.
Oh, I forgot about Ebola.
Ebola, he was, obviously leading the effort. The world's leading epidemiologist was leading the effort against Ebola. So he says two things. One, he says we can't lock down. Quarantines aren't the answer. Lockdowns, aren't worth the trouble. He comes out vocally against lockdowns, and he does this stunt. He gets a whole spacesuit on, like a John Kerry spacesuit, and does a diagnosis of an Ebola patient. And if you read about it, the whole thing was for the cameras. He does a performance for the TV cameras with an Ebola patient in a complete, hazmat suit. He was a camera hog back then when he was, a young pup of 70. Now he's out of control. Now he's everywhere. But again, I don't want to get caught up. Let's talk about another Italian-American egomaniac. Well, let's wrap it up with Andrew Cuomo, because I think there's nothing more gratifying, satisfying than watching a guy face justice that and you said it. We had nothing to do with it. Janice Dean had nothing to do with it. Obviously, the New York Post and Fox News and talk radio, they knew what kind of criminal he was, but he wasn't going to pay any price until, his own party got involved. And to their credit, I mean, everyone knows what he did on March 25th, and everyone knows he covered up, and everyone knows he lied. Here's what we don't know, Turtleboy, is and obviously his top chief of staff got caught. She told New York Democrats that they, quote, froze when they covered up his crimes because they were afraid that Trump would make an issue of it. So they lied and said they didn't send coronavirus patients into the nursing home. So they lied, they covered it up continuously for months. And you have a chief of staff and another aide who are gone on the record, essentially incriminating him. So the noose is tightening, the walls are closing in, all those terms we used to hear about Trump and Russia, you know, it's about to come tumbling down on Cuomo.
And that blog post that she did, she brought receipts with her. You know,
Sure.
it wasn't just tweets out.
Well,
she had receipts and emails and texts.
But Cuomo's already denying, his office already put out a thing denying it, and they're saying that they put out the flight manifest, but then the flight manifest ended up having her on it.
No, nobody, you can't read this because you said it, like it's just so characteristic of him, you know, bully, loud, and he's going to get his way. And they called him a Love Gov because he liked the ladies, and nobody believes that he didn't occasionally, force himself on one if he wanted to. And this woman, Lindsey Boylan, lays it out, and it is 100% believable. Can you tweet that out on the show account?
Blog post
yesterday. The blog post, my story of working with Governor Cuomo, lead Let's Play Strip Poker. It's kind of weird. There were people. It was on a plane. I guess he was just flirting. But Chris Cuomo will be the last one on an island. He'll be defending him, and no one else will. And eventually he'll have to quit. But it's just so great because as conservatives, we see people get away. We saw Hillary Clinton. We see people get away with stuff. James Comey, Clapper, Brennan, Strzok. We see these people get away with so much. I don't think he's getting away with a turtle boy. I think there's just too much evidence, and too many people have turned on him, and too many Democrats have turned on him, and there's too much here.
When does his term end? What year is he? 2020.
2 more years, and he was planning on running again. He loves to be king of New York, just like his old man.
Well, he wouldn't win again if he ran. Like he got a primary challenge last time by the chick from Sex and the City. She almost beat him, didn't she?
His approval rating's like 60%. Democrats, they don't watch Fox News or read the Post. They read the New York Times, which is full of propaganda and lies. So that's why, like Charlie Baker's approval rating's like 70%. The guy who's destroyed the Massachusetts economy, the guy who's put thousands of businesses under, who's put 1 million people out of work, and his approval rating's like 70% because the Globe obviously tells nothing but lies, and other media people, they like him and they have his back. So people ignore what he's done to the state. They ignore how he's destroyed the economy. But whatever, we got the facts. Justice is coming. The knock is coming at the door for Andrew Cuomo. He's like the warden in Shawshank. The police cars are coming down the road, and he doesn't know what to do. That's why he pulls the gun out, puts it under here.
Oh, I saw. That's a good move. We can talk about Shawshank, Jerry.
Who were you saying that like what liberals? I mean, I know there's just the generic you would mention the Sex and the City woman who ran against him or whatever. She has this woman's back. She tweeted out, but who else has come out that you saw that was calling out Cuomo yesterday?
This guy Ron Kim was the assemblyman that threatened him, which is key. And then,
but this is with the nursing homes and now this is a 1-2 punch that this should be a universal. Throw this guy under the bus.
How hard was this? You literally put infected people into nursing homes. It's like all of a sudden they were like, "Oh yeah, that's not good." No. What
makes it more? Well, first of all, you have the receipts. You have the order on March 25th. You've seen it tweeted. Secondly, he lied and covered it up, which is again often worse than the crime. In this case, he lied over and over again. I mean, the other day, did you see what he said? That we didn't put nursing home, we didn't put coronavirus patients in nursing homes. The virus got into the nursing homes through the people who work there, the food service workers, the nurses. He blames everybody.
Yeah, I came in through the frozen tacos. Sure. Yeah.
Then he blames, Fox News and Trump and God, and he blames everybody but himself. It's so typical.
It doesn't matter how it got in, Jerry. The fact is it got in, and you're the governor, and it happened under your watch. So if the rule is that it's all Trump's fault, right? He didn't do enough to stop the spread. Well, this is your state, and what'd you do?
He was ripping Trump yesterday, but here's where it's really it's over for Cuomo, but this will get even better. If there's some proof that the reason he did what he did was because, and the comfort ship was in the harbor there. The comfort ship was right there, the Javits Center was empty. He didn't use them because I think this is true, and I hope it's proven, that he thought Trump would get credit. If they used the comfort ship and it was a bunch of coronavirus patients on it and it was running great, that would have made Trump look good. And we know people like Cuomo, tyrants and dirtbags like Cuomo and Newsom and Whitmer and Baker, their whole world revolved around helping Biden and making Trump look bad. So if he did that, if he used the ship, would have saved, 15,000 lives, but it might have made the evil Orangeman look good, and he couldn't do that. He wouldn't do that. If that comes out, a great story gets even greater and better. I mean, that'll just be amazing. But I'm enjoying it. I hope everyone else is enjoying it. If you're not, you don't know what you're missing, because it is a great thing to watch a dirtbag like this face justice, just be cornered like the rat that he is. He does not know what to do at this point. He's lying, telling lies upon lies. He's got some friends in the media, including his little brother, but they're bailing quick and for good reason. He's guilty as hell, and I'm enjoying the hell out of it. But we got others to get to, not people quite as bad as Andrew Cuomo. I mean, he's the worst. He's awful. But I gotta get to the Hunter Biden story at some point. But I want to do Obama. But did you spend any time, Turtle Boy? We played some of it. Was it yesterday? We played some of the Obama Springsteen.
A couple days ago. Yeah, no, we were right up release, Jerry. You were right. You were active as soon as that thing was out there.
That's right. Listen, I mean, it came. There's never been a podcast with more build-up, more hype than. And I know you're excited about it, Turtle Boy. You got.
I'll be right back.
Obama and Bruce Springsteen teaming up to do a podcast, a 55-minute podcast with 48 people behind the scenes helping out.
Like I told you too, by the way, I told you, like, they can control how successful this is. I'm a Spotify guy through and through. I listen to it nonstop. It was front and center. Like you were not getting away from this podcast if you use Spotify. This week, it's still going on.
Guys talking about themselves and agreeing on everything. Right?
Which is usually a good, if it were like two guys just shooting the shit as friends and talking about like news of the day, like we do or something, I'm all in. But they clearly have a purpose as to why they're putting out 8 episodes of this for unity.
Purpose is to dump all over the United States of America, which is what they do because it's been so tough on the two of them. This country's been so bad for the both of them. But we played perhaps the worst cut of episode 1, 2 minutes of Springsteen just rambling incoherently. But the highlight of episode 2, which I have not gone and listened to the entire thing yet, and I probably won't, to be honest with you, but the takeaway that made Twitter and made all their little promotional tweets, and I assume Facebook posts and everything else, they're getting more promotion than any podcast ever, was Barack Obama. And again, all they talk about is how racist everybody is and how tough it was growing up. Barack Obama tells a story of a friend who called him a racial slur, so he socked him. Turtle Boy. He broke his jaw, which right there and then makes me question Barack Smollett. I don't picture him being able to break any. I mean, he's got little bird hands. He's very, very thin. I can't picture him hitting someone in the jaw and breaking his jaw, but whatever.
I haven't heard this audio. Does Cully have it?
Yeah, I got it.
Cully has. I haven't heard it either. I just read about it, but I want to let you judge, let me judge, and our listeners judge, and whether we believe this, or is this another, Jussie Smollett story where a guy's just making it up and as he goes along.
It's the same thing I mean, listen, when I was in school, I had a friend. We played basketball together. And one time we got in a fight, and he called me a coon. Now, first of all, ain't no coons in Hawaii, right? So,
oh, God, cringe.
It's one of those things where he might not even know what a coon was. What he knew was, I can hurt you by saying this. And I remember I popped him in the face and broke his nose.
Oh, give me it.
And we were in the locker room. Well done. And suddenly blood's pouring down. And it was just reactive. I said, what? And I popped him. And he said, why'd you do that? And I explained to him, I said, don't you ever call me something like that.
Bang.
I'll take things that never happen for $500, Alex. First of all, like this whole South Side thing, like Obama, you're a prep school guy, you're the president. No, stop. You can just drop that right there. Nobody's buying that anymore. Like, you shouldn't be selling it. And number two, he said it was a white guy that called him the COON.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, that's wrong. I tell you why that's wrong, because that is what black people call other black people who they think are not sufficiently black. Like Candace Owens gets called that word all the time by black people. That is not a racial slur that white people use on black people. It's a racial slur that black people use on black people.
Is it still a slur people use? Sounds like something Archie Bunker would say.
No, it's societally acceptable. Like, you know, like you don't get censored for using, if you're black and you call a conservative black person that word, it's standard.
Well, here's two reasons I question it, and I don't believe it, but, you know, at least he tells it convincingly. You didn't hear us play the Springsteen. Can you cue up Springsteen from episode 1 just to play a little so Turtle Boy can get a taste of it?
Yeah, we'll go grab it.
No, before he dives in on all 8 episodes. But here's two reasons that I have my doubts on this. Is one, what guy, even if you're a high school kid in Hawaii, a little, you know, soft little beach bum Hawaii kid, what guy gets punched in the nose, his nose is broken, he's bleeding, and he doesn't fight back? He just sits there and says, why did you do that? Who would do that?
Yeah, and I'll never. And how old did he say? How old he was?
He was in high school. So what high school kid? High school kids, they get the, you know, the testosterone or whatever. You know, it is running hot. And I mean, when you were in high school, there were fights every day in the locker room, on the basketball court. What kid, even if you're a big puss, would take a punch to the nose, get his nose broken, and not come out swinging?
Well, he was the enforcer, Jerry. Barry the enforcer. That's what they used to call him back at Honolulu West High School.
Knocked him out. One punch.
But he just said, if he knocked him out, I would say, fine, that at least the story makes sense. But he said he hit him in the nose, broke his nose, blood everywhere. And the kid said, why did you do that, Barry? That wouldn't work that way. The kid would come fighting back. Anybody would, any self-respecting guy. Second reason, he's now written 3 books, essentially about himself. You know, my father's whatever, dreams. And I mean, no one's ever read them, but he's written 3 books. The latest one is 800 pages, and it's like volume 1. The guy's 59 years old. He's got 3 biographies out. He's not one to hold back, let's be honest. If it comes to embellishing a story to make him look good, to sell his book, to sell his story, he will do it. A lot of guys do that. Why would you not include this story in any of your books?
It's a good question. I mean, I just love the way he nonchalantly puts out, like, oh, yes, you know, I pop him. And, you know, when I punch somebody, it's not a small punch. Your jaw breaks because I'm Obama. It was rare that I did something like that, but I just had to let this guy in the playground know, you know, who runs this joint. Who's the king of Maui this week? I am. I run this island.
The king of Maui, that's him. The king of, what's the most exclusive part of Hawaii? I don't know. But, you know, in the first episode, he said another racial incident was when he was he was 12 years old. He was on the tennis team, and he looked at the brackets, the seedings for the tournament, and he touched the paper, the sheet is hanging on the wall. And the coach said, be careful, the color of your skin might rub off on the paper. And
I'd never heard that story. That's another story he's telling?
That's another story.
Oh, for crying out.
I mean, if you're going to talk about being oppressed or being a victim or being of racism, you know, fine. I believe it. I believe he's had incidents in his past and in the 70s. But a tennis coach on the tennis team in Hawaii? You really think?
Tennis coach. Yes. Oh,
that wasn't exactly 𝗟𝗏 in the 50s and the 40s. But whatever, here's the problem they have, and it's not a problem because no one's going to call them out. Everyone's going to say how wonderful. I said this yesterday. I said, I know a group of middle-aged white sports writers who will listen to every one of these episodes and say how wonderful it is because Springsteen is God to them. And, you know, they're so happy Springsteen beat the rap because of white liberal privilege. He didn't get charged with drunk driving, or they dropped the charge of drunk driving and just gave him some ticket for whatever.
Eventually, by the way, Springsteen is going to say something ridiculous that's going to catch Kirk Minahan's radar. And the question is, will Kirk turn on him the way that he turned on Brandy Love and somebody like that?
The answer to is no, he will not turn on him. He will defend him to the end, I think. But Springsteen and Barack Obama have the same problem that like Cuomo has or Biden has, is they've lived their whole life being coddled, essentially being idolized, especially these two. These two, Obama and Springsteen, are living icons in America, especially the liberals and middle-aged white people adore them, worship them. They can say anything. They can make up any story, and they're not going to get called out. Their audience, their core audience, those people will believe anything, accept anything. Listen to Springsteen from the first episode and tell me that any honest person, I don't care who it is, could say this is an interesting podcaster or that he's bringing the energy to this product that they're peddling.
A teenager in the 60s would not be aware that race was the fundamental issue of the day, you know. In America, you know, we have loved black people and brown people when they're entertaining us, but when they want to live next door, we remain a tribal society. You know, it's part of our tragicness. You know, that continues, obviously, to this day. You know, and I don't think it's ever been more.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God.
More essential.
Is he crying?
Subject as it is.
Oh no. Oh no.
At this very moment.
Oh God.
Is he? You watch the audio, Cullen. I just listened.
Yeah.
Is he distracted? Is he watching TV?
No, he's doing the whole like I'm
He's
so
completely
into this topic,
thoughtful.
it's making me cry. Like
What? And during this, because again, I listened, I saw the clips, because Spotify's promoting the hell out of it, and them just sitting around a table. There's a bunch of guitars, and there's a bunch of drinks, a couple of shots of Patron on the table. But is Obama nodding off during Springsteen's little diatribes? Because
No, this is an intimate conversation amongst friends. This is how my conversations go when I get the microphone up for my friends and when we have a couple drinks and have some chats.
Wow. Well, that's how many? 6 more episodes? Can't
Yes.
wait.
Yes.
And you might have missed this too, Turtle Boy, but I counted at the end how many people that in the credits, producers, engineers, and assistants.
We're diverse?
And him. Take a guess. Cullen guessed 15. He came up a little short.
15% or 15 total?
15 total. How many people they give credit to at the end? And they list them all on the audio, on the video, right, Dave?
Yes, they list all the
They
people.
list them all, and they announce their names at the end of a 55-minute podcast that included 2 guys, 1 song, and like 2 cuts.
But a huge budget. A huge budget.
Oh,
I
for
think
sure.
So I would guess at least 20.
48. people.
48. And we got Cully doing it by himself.
Yes, we got Cullen, which coincidentally has a 48 IQ. So, you know, I can relate. But anyway, all right, we'll move on. We'll listen to how often do they come out, Dave? They come out on weekends?
I actually don't. I would assume they're going to come out weekly, but they just released the first 2, so I would assume that they should have just dropped all 8. They should have.
I might have to do like with SNL. I might have to hate listen because they're just making stuff up, and I love to catch people when they're just making up stuff, and B, there's going to be a lot of people lying to us about how great it is.
You know what that story sounds a lot like, Gerry? Corn Pop.
Corn Pop.
It's very eerily similar to Corn Pop, no?
It is true, and you make a good point, because here's when elected officials or celebrities get in trouble is when they try to establish their tough guy credentials, because God knows, we know, like Biden's been in D.C. for 50 years. He's been a senator, a vice president. He's had mansions everywhere. He's been taking, hundreds of millions of dollars from the Chinese, whatever. He's very rich, very pampered, very insulated, but he wants you to think he's a tough guy, Irish guy from Scranton, where he lived till he was like 6 years old. But so they make up stories about, I punched him in the nose and broke his nose.
No, the chain, he got the chain.
The chain with Corn Pop, or I want to take him behind the gym and kick his ass. And they're like, it's like, what? I mean, that's why I said the tough guy act only goes so far.
He's still doing the tough guy. He's challenging fat to a push-up competition in New Hampshire.
That's right.
And I always try to fight guys like, easy there, Joe. Easy.
We're a month in, and daily we get these videos, these audios of Biden losing his way.
By the way, we're a month in. Like, he is a million times worse than Obama, Jerry. There are. Did you see in Connecticut those? So remember that last year those transgender,
Of course.
the cisgender girls sued. Well, the federal, the Attorney General's office, they backed them up. They were part of that lawsuit. They have now dropped their support for that. So they're just abandoning those girls in Connecticut. And it's little things like that like Joe Biden doesn't know is happening because he's not running the country. The people that are pulling his strings are the ones doing that stuff. And I feel like Obama wouldn't have done that.
Right. I and you and I talked about it many times, is I don't understand why Trump didn't make it a bigger issue. It's such a
Because he's a freaking moron, Jerry. We got behind a moron. We put all our faith in this guy who watches Saturday Night Live and writes 𝗏𝗏𝘃.
He's probably waiting for them to call. I think he's going to host again because he hosted before.
He wants to get back on Facebook and Twitter. Did you see that? Does he not know Parler's a thing? Go on Parler.
Just to see him tweet about Mitch McConnell or tweet about Andrew Cuomo. They should let him tweet again. But Biden, you're right. Biden doesn't know the particulars of the various executive orders. If he did, he still pretends he's a moderate, but he does nothing but nominate crazy radicals. Merrick Garland, as Attorney General, was asked about biological boys participating in girls' sports and kicking ass and ruining girls' sports. And he said, that's a really tough societal question. I don't know what to say. And I'm going, it is really not a tough question. It's a simple question. You say, of course, biological boys shouldn't be allowed to beat up on girls. And 90% of the public agrees with you. It's such a radical opinion that it kind of proves the point that the people running things are crazy radicals who are outnumbered, but they get the power, man. They got the presidency, and those kids, the girls. I remember, as I say all the time, I remember when girls mattered. Well, girls don't matter anymore. Transgender rights trump the rights.
But transgenders are girls, Jerry. Don't you know?
Okay, biological girls don't matter anymore. It's right. True. I see the girl. She was on yesterday. Smith. I forget her first name. It's Lee Smith's daughter, the old Red Sox.
Yeah, she's one of the ones that sued, right?
Yeah, she was on TV. She's suing, and she is out front, and she's good, and she's articulate. She makes a great case. But again, to Democrats, girls don't matter. But we'll do this another day. I know you're like a national authority on this, an expert on this. And I think it's a great topic because I think the people making the decisions are so vastly outnumbered, but they have the power, so they can foist this radical position and say, let and the more people see it, because once you see the video of the guys, just of the biological guys, transgender girls, dominating these races, you can't say anything other than it's not fair. It's clearly not fair. It's clearly wrong. But you know what? The feelings of the minority, and I mean the really small minority, somehow trump the rights of these poor girls are getting their ass kicked. But before we go, let me do 𝗟𝗍 and let me get to a couple other things before we go, including one of your excellent blogs. And I think you should write about Hunter Biden because no one else is. Hunter Biden is the most interesting guy, in the first family. Put it that way. We got an update on Crazy Hunter, which will be completely ignored by the mainstream media. But first, let me tell you about 𝗟𝗍 and what 𝗟𝗍 could do for you. They could build you a retaining wall. If you need a retaining wall, these are your guys. All right, this is from, of course, the Daily Mail. It's got to be either the New York Post or the Daily Mail. It's certainly not going to be from anyone in, mainstream media. But I tweeted it out, and I'm telling you, even if you think Hunter Biden is, not relevant because he's not the president, he's not elected, he's a colorful character. Can we agree with that, Turtleboy? Yes. I was giving you some of the details before we started recording, and we were just laughing. I wonder how many people even know. Like, there was a poll of Democrat voters who said they would not have supported Biden if they knew the truth about Hunter, which leads me to the conclusion that the election was rigged.
Yes, I agree in that aspect. If you want to go that route, I would say it was rigged.
By big tech, by Facebook and Twitter, who suppressed the news about Hunter, perfectly legitimate news. It hurt their guys, so they suppressed it. People missed it. They didn't get the full picture. They voted accordingly. That's corruption by any definition. And they'll do the same here. Not that it's going to affect an election, but I wonder if people realize what an absolute lunatic, what an animal Hunter Biden is. Let's just quick run down, see if we can keep up. He left his wife and his 2 daughters for his brother's widow. His brother Beau died. And this was not long after Beau died. He left his wife, started sleeping with his brother's widow.
Time out. Why is she get a pass in all this then? That's kind of, I mean, you're the one you're sleeping with.
She's grieving. She's lonely.
And you're into Hunter.
Right.
Hunter. That's how you grieve. Hunter Biden.
Hey.
That's no, that's not how you grieve. That's how you party.
We all grieve in different ways, pal.
Some of us, eat a bunch of chocolate. Others run and jump on Hunter Biden's lap.
Yeah, some people drink, or some people smoke crack and bang their brothers.
Yeah, it happens. No biggie.
So, yeah, her, what's her name? Elizabeth? No, that Beau's widow.
What a scummy thing to do. What a scummy.
Haley.
That's why he didn't run in 2016,
Beau's widow was Haley. The sister was Elizabeth.
Okay, Haley is the widow. He's sleeping with Haley, his brother's widow, not long after his brother died. While he's sleeping with Haley, he's having an affair with Elizabeth, who is Haley's sister, his brother's widow's sister. And because he's such a moron, or he's
his sister-in-law's sister, right?
Yes. His brother's widow's sister-in-law's sister. But while he's doing this kind of creepy thing, sleeping with his brother's widow, he's also sleeping with his brother's widow's sister. And it's all on the laptop. We got the texts. And he tells her, they tell each other they love. They're FaceTiming while he's in the shower. I swear to God. Which I don't know how you don't get the phone wet, but I guess you got one hand holding it up like this.
Oh, some people know how to do that. Or the tub. Yeah.
I always feel like when I read about Hunter, I've lived such a sheltered, simple, boring life.
You can get a phone to work in a shower, Jerry. You'd be surprised.
She says, he texts her. He says, "What you doing? We should shower together by FaceTime every morning or night when we're up. Stress relief. I will teach you how to masturbate."
Wait. He's saying that to a woman?
To his brother's widow's sister.
Okay,
Yes.
time out. Let me just process this for a minute. So this woman, this grown woman, doesn't know how to masturbate on her own. But luckily, she's like, who could teach me how to masturbate? My brother-in-law, my dead husband's brother, Hunter, the crackhead.
Yeah.
He can teach me how to fiddle the bean.
How does a guy teach you? I mean, first of all, aren't you born knowing how to do that? Isn't it kind of like...
It's different with women, Jerry. It's different.
I don't even know how it works with women, but guys are born knowing how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural thing for guys. But like with women, there's techniques, there's different devices. There's a lot of tricks of the trade.
Well, he wants to teach her. And including in the Daily Mail story, of course, is all back and forth. I love you. I miss you. I can't wait to see you, while he's with us. And during this time, I got to get the date straight, but during this time, he knocks up a stripper.
It happens.
And she has the baby, and he denies it's his. She takes him to court, forces a DNA test, proves it's his, and then has to, I believe, sue him again for money to get support. So, and this is the grandchild that Joe Biden denies he has.
Best move she ever made, by the way. If you're like an Arkansas stripper, who better to knock you up than Hunter Biden? The checks are going to keep coming for life. She's all set, right? I'm assuming.
I can imagine she could, well, I was going to say sell her story, but it would have to be to, one of 2 or 3 places, New York Post, or everyone else will pretend she doesn't exist. We got pictures of her, too. She's pretty hot.
Which?
The strip, I guess for strippers, got to be, she's, her name is London Roberts. Chased him through the courts to take a DNA test confirming the daughter is his. The daughter's named Navy, like navy blue, Navy. People are working too hard for names, man. Navy. I don't know if it's Navy Biden, but when you hear Joe talk about his grandkids, he leaves her out.
Yeah, how come she wasn't there on election night or inauguration night? You didn't see. She was probably cute too.
And then they got all the pictures. Oh my God, he's taking selfies of himself. Is that him? In the mirror naked.
Who doesn't use a rubber with a stripper in Arkansas? That's what I like. That is, what the hell is he thinking?
I know, good question. He's not, and you see why, because this includes all the pictures of him like passed out with a crack pipe in his mouth, or passed out in the bathtub with a cigarette, or taking a picture. He's got a wild tattoo on his back, too. He's a wild man. And he's got a biography coming out, a memoir coming out in the spring, like in April or May. And they gave him a big advance, a couple of different accounts of whether it's $1 million or $2 million. And I say, it's worth it. If he tells the truth, if he tells the details of this life, it would be worth $2 million.
He has to eventually. I mean, once Joe dies and he has nothing politically to lose, why not?
Plus, won't it be part of his rehab where you have to just come clean and tell everything?
The 12 steps.
It's too bad the media is in such cover-up mode of protecting Biden, because the story is wild. And I ask this all the time, and I'll ask it again. Can you imagine, Turtle Boy, if this were Don Jr. or Eric Trump, who did this, who left their wife for their brother's widow, cheated on their brother's widow with their brother's widow's sister while banging a stripper, denying the baby was hers, and smoking crack on camera.
I mean, the best that the Trump kids have is just stealing chicks from Gavin Newsom. That's their thing, isn't it?
Or no, they also kill big game. They're big game hunters.
Oh yes, big game hunters, very bad, very
and
bad.
that bothers people. That bothers people more than anything Hunter did. But you're right. Maybe someday, because how about if we make a deal? He doesn't have to give up all the millions he took from China, or he doesn't have to testify. Just, tell us about your life, because it's pretty wild, and everyone is interested in what a lunatic you are. And maybe people will feel bad for Joe. Say he has to have this ne'er-do-well as his only living son. He has to deal with this screwball. It can't be easy. But anyway,
yeah.
I want to get to one of your blog posts over. I think it was this week, what day it was, but it is so indicative of this place we live. I mean, the whole country and much of the country. Oh, by the way, I wanted to make sure you knew something. In the new rescue bill, whatever they call it, the bailout for coronavirus, the 1.9 trillion.
Yep.
There's, I think, 180 billion in there. I heard Biden announce it. You know what it's for, Turtle Boy?
What's it for?
Community activists. You know what that means?
For fuck's sake.
That your friend
Monica Cannon-Grant,
rock thrower,
damn it,
is going to get millions. It's for community activists, and they're going to give them money and say, "Could you encourage people to get vaccinated?" So these people, this grift of these community activists who are allegedly, helping people convince people the vaccine is safe, are going to cash in. But that's not my favorite blog. Lots of them are good, but anything that involves making anything that involves the globe is good. But you have a blog of these awful, nosy, miserable people walking by a restaurant.
Oh, the West Roxbury one?
Yeah, they walk by a restaurant. This woman from
Rosie Rand Paul, we call her.
She looks in the window and sees people are actually having a decent time, enjoying their lunch.
There's 10 people.
10 people. She takes pictures, goes on Facebook and starts demanding whatever. They get busted. When is this going to end? When are we going to...
I can't believe it's still happening. I mean, Gerry, when I go out to restaurants now, like I said, we went out a couple weeks ago on a Friday night, couldn't get a seat at a restaurant. You couldn't find a seat anywhere. And like everywhere I look, it's just packed. Nobody's buying, at least in Worcester, like people are not buying into this. I don't know what it's like in Boston, if this is still taboo, if it's like you're not allowed to, but like nobody cares. People are going out anyway. And I didn't know people were still pretending. Well, they're eating. I did not know this. They had a rule, I guess Baker put in, that you have to put your mask on between bites. Nobody does that at any restaurants. Like the restaurants are just revolting.
But here, I will say this, Turtle Boy, everybody's masked up. I mean, everybody in Boston. There's nobody walking, running, dog walking, nothing. I'm the only one out there without a mask, and I get dirty looks all day. And when I'm by myself running, of course I don't wear a mask because I'm not an idiot. But and you got a picture of this Karen, and she just looks the part, and she feels compelled to take a picture of the restaurant. And you're right, 10 people in there, they're not on top of each other, drinking, eating, living their life. We will have none of that. Then we find out the same restaurant hosted an event for Jeff Deal, who's a Republican. So they get the Globe involved to say, oh, these awful people who are actually, what did they catch them doing? Eating a buffet style meal?
Yeah, without masks on, taking selfies. Like that's when the Globe gets in on it. You know, they had their eye on it. They probably saw this from the group, and they're like, "We're going to keep an eye on this restaurant." And then Jeff Deal has an event there. That's 2 strikes, Gerry. You know, now you're letting people be free, and you're hosting this guy who's to the right of 𝗟𝗵𝘃𝗃 and wants to run against him for governor. Or, you know, probably a QAnon guy. We can all assume that he's QAnon, white supremacist, all that stuff. So you got to shut that down, and you got to let the people know that this. I mean, this is the newspaper of record. This is the kind of things they're writing about, like a bunch of people in a room eating food, taking pictures. You know, update at 10. Shirley Lung's on.
And here's what I would love to see you do is, do you think, you know, Shirley Long, and obviously the horrible human being who works at the Globe, or, you know, John Henry, the owner, or Linda Pizzuti, the owner, do you think they ever go to, I don't know, restaurants? Do you think they ever get together with friends? Do you think they're, you know, enjoying themselves with other people ever?
Of course they do.
Are. It's all just performance art. They don't really believe this is anything.
Nobody
egregious.
does. Nobody does. Go out and live your life. Luckily, things are looking up, Gerry. I did a whole rant on this the other night about the schools. 𝗟𝗵𝘃𝗃's, the 𝗕ESE is finally forcing schools by April. They said remote learning no longer counts as the hours. So now they have to go back to school. They have no choice, or else the hours won't count for your district. So things are looking up.
Well, I think you just want to kill teachers. That's always been your thing. You
Yes.
always hated teachers. You want to kill them all.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Well, I was one for 11 years, but.
I was tweeting about this yesterday. There was a protest from teachers. I forget where it was, Chicago, who don't want to go back to work. They are, I mean, literally everybody else has either gone back to work or lost their job. The only people, and they're not all like this because many schools are open around the country, but in cities, LA and New York and Chicago, where the teachers union control everything. God knows they control the White House. These are the only people going on 1 year of paid vacation, and they don't want it to end. You think at some point you say, well, that was a hell of a good time. I went to Puerto Rico. I, had got my worked out, did all the things I needed to do. I had a year off, time to go back to work. But no, they don't ever want to give up the fight. They're going to pretend, they're all going to die if they go back to work, even though nobody believes that. It's disgusting. Nothing's going to change. I shouldn't say nothing. We won't get to the point where we're completely back until they start firing them. Until they say, simple, here's what we're going to do. Open the schools. To open the schools, what does it take? I love that question. What does it take to open the schools? It takes one thing, a key. You turn the key, you open the door. Here's school. There's a class.
Well, that's literally what's happening. They're not going to have a choice, because districts like, my district, if the hours don't count, then the school loses accreditation. Like, that's not an option. That's like a nuclear thing. So they're going to have no choice but to go back. And guess what they're going to do, Gerry? They're going to figure it out, because they could have figured it out a long time ago. When they have no choice, all of a sudden they're going to come up with solutions.
And, they're going to demand more money for whatever ventilation. They're going to get it because Biden's in their back pocket. But they're also going to lose a lot of kids who are going to go to private schools or homeschooling. This was the greatest advertisement promotion for private schools, for Catholic schools, for homeschooling ever. That's what this was. But you're right. Good news all around. Cuomo's facing justice. Tiger's off the hook. Hunter Biden is having a good time.
I was just typing out part of the description of this podcast, and I had to type out brothers, widows, married, sister, which is just a wild thing to describe.
Sounds like a Turtleboy story.
Yeah, right. She's married. You forgot that part.
I don't know if you mentioned she was married too as well. If you haven't seen the article, there's a part of the article on the Daily Mail that just runs down the timeline when he starts dating the widow, and they announce that they're a couple, and then also he leases an apartment with the widow's sister. It is wild. It's a wild
So why did they break up? Hunter and the widow.
I don't know. She just thought he was kind of unstable. Can you believe anyone would ever stay with him? I mean,
she's known him. She was in the family. I'm sure she knew. So I want to know what led to the breakup.
I mean, this is the craziest guy. I mean, he's worse than like Chris Farley or Belushi or, I mean, who's the craziest, Hollywood lunatic? This guy's worse. I mean, he's like worse than, Johnny Damon. I don't know, who's the craziest guy out there now? He's doing drugs, he's scamming money, using his family name. He's banging everything in sight, knocking them up, denying they're his, and he's showing up at the White House, at the Capitol for inauguration. Is there any doubt that he's going to be get some, some woman in the same room that Clinton used with Monica, the room next to the Oval Office? Is there any doubt that he's in there doing, unnatural acts right now?
Oh, no doubt about it.
He's just enjoying.
Did they even let him in the White House?
He's juggling 4 different women at one time. There's no reason to doubt that 4 women isn't 12 women, isn't 20 women.
And let's be clear. I have nothing against. You have this moral thing with Hunter. I let him go. Do you blame him? Who cares? He's living his best life.
Well, I don't like guys who abandon their families. I don't like guys who abandon their children and start.
Define abandon.
Not pay child support, maybe? I don't know.
Oh, shit. She's got a check.
There's a text exchange with one of his daughters where he's complaining that the daughter wants him to pay for his tuition and he doesn't want to pay. He says, I don't have to pay for everything. He's complaining that she's a burden for him. This guy who's got, I think it's 6 kids he's up to now.
Okay, so abandoning the kids, I'm not down with that. That's faux pas. But living his best life, going from chick to chick, it's let him live. Who cares?
I don't think we have a choice. I think now the dad made it into the White House. I think he has the cone of protection around him. I think he can just go nuts, enjoy himself, and he will.
I'd still think they should raffle off a weekend with him.
I'm like you. Can we watch? Just watch your.
Oh, you're into that?
I don't mean watch him in the shower FaceTiming, but just watch this whole thing, this way this guy lives. Do we?
Oh, I thought you were going to subscribe to his OnlyFans.
Do we have to cover it up? Let's all watch.
Hunter should get an OnlyFans. He could make bank.
Oh yeah, he could.
You know what he is? He's what the media wanted the Trumps to be. He's wild, degenerate, lunatic. They wanted this to be the
civility. This is what civility looks like. Crack smoking with strippers in Arkansas.
All right, Turtle Boy. That is Turtle Boy. You can read him on tvdailynews.com. Check out his blog and follow him on Twitter at @TB/
at @TB_Aidan or at Turtleboy Phone. I got 2 now.
He's got 2. He usually has none because he's
back.
banished, but he's hanging in there on Twitter, and follow him. He'll be breaking stories left and right as always. And thanks to 𝗪𝗃, DCU, and 𝗟𝗶𝘃, and GovX. Anything else, Cullinane?
No, a stupid story that I'm not happy about. Did you see the viral video of Adam Sandler with the Happy Gilmore swing last week? He's now confirmed that Happy Gilmore 2 is in the mix, and I don't like it. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, you think you want him to just rest because he
Keep
made a classic?
let classics be
I think
classics.
he can ruin that classic.
Yeah, it was a classic.
Well, without 𝗏𝗵𝘃𝗏𝘃, that movie sucks. 𝗏𝗵𝘃𝗏 made that movie. He was the greatest
I've
villain.
changed my opinion about Adam Sandler. Obviously, some of his movies suck. Jack and Jill is the dumbest movie ever made.
He made 2 good
But
movies.
he just makes movies to hang out with his friends.
Yep.
To take care of his loyal fans, to make people maybe have a laugh or two. He doesn't care about art. He doesn't care about critics. I respect that. From all accounts, he does it for the right reasons. And, he's made, what has he said, $4 billion.
Crazy.
His movies have made $4 billion. And he sounds like he's got a great attitude. So it'll suck, but what the hell, it's what he does. And you know what? Uncut Gems was pretty good. He was good in that movie. He's a good actor. But
That's true.
Sounds like a good guy. And wouldn't you, if you were him, wouldn't you make Grown Ups? Wouldn't you make Grown Ups 1 and 2 and 3 and whatever?
Absolutely.
You get a bunch of friends together. They drink. They play golf. They jump in the lake. They have a good time. And they call it a movie, and he gets paid millions.
No, you're right. In the moment, you're like, why the hell are you making Little Nicky? You're embarrassing yourself. And then you look back, and you're like, you know what? All his buddies were in the goddamn movie. Who cares?
Right.
He's just living
He had a
it.
good time, and someone gave him $30 million to do it. And he said, what the hell?
They're going to have to dig up Bob Barker's corpse to be in the
Right.
part 2.
Well, that's a good point. Well, you hear David Spade will talk about it, tell the story of Chris Rock, and they'll say, yeah, he called me up, sent a jet, picked me up. We went to wherever to film it. We had 2 weeks.
What about climate change?
Great.
Have to worry about climate change?
I guarantee you, Adam Sandler doesn't give a damn about climate change.
Nobody
That's why-
does. Nobody does.
All right, that'll do it. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast, and we will talk to you again soon.